This episode of the Barry Chronicles is proudly brought to you by Bariatric Support Australia.
Hi everybody, I'm Tash.
And I'm Damo.
And we are so excited to bring you this week's episode of the Barry Chronicles.
This week we're here with Georgia. Georgia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, we are really, really excited to be talking with another incredible lived experience person, so thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Georgia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, obviously my name's Georgia. I guess I'll just dive into how my journey started.
Yep, that sounds good.
Pretty much my entire life, I have been the chubby kid, as my friends always used to, know me as the chubby girl with the pretty face, which become to be quite annoying. I grew up around food. My mum and my grandma are just awesome cooks, so that was just the culture in our family, is that we were always around food.
How cool is that though? Like how amazing is it?
It's so good, so good. I still to this day blame my mum for being fat. Like hot mum. But yeah, so my brother, like my nickname growing up was Podger, and luckily for him, I did perceive it as a term of endearment, so he was probably the only one that could get away with that. So yeah, that's kind of where that started. So then in 2014, unfortunately, I lost my brother in a car accident. Yeah, that was a bit of a, that knocked me and my family around. It was really quite difficult. I was, really close to my brother. So that was just, naturally quite hard to come to terms with. So I guess I went in a direction quite opposite to my mum. My mum basically stopped eating and pretty much almost starved herself to death because, overcome with grief and all of that.
Yeah.
Whereas I went in the polar opposite direction and ate everything. So I think for me it was because food was such a connection to my brother. I was, continuing on cooking, and I think I was demonstrating like over consuming food to my mum in hopes that she would follow suit in a way.
Yep, I understand. Yeah.
Just to like encourage her to eat. But yeah, obviously with that, I was just eating so much food just as a way to cope. And then, scales just kept going up and up and up. Sorry, just lost my thought.
Oh, you're right.
So basically from there, I had gained a lot of weight. At the time, I had a 5-year-old little sister who really, really looked up to me. And when everyone else is sort of falling to pieces around you, you do feel responsible to be that strong one and just to keep going. That was good in a way for me, but also bad because I feel like I pushed down a lot of my grief and I didn't deal with things in necessarily a healthy way. At that point, I was not only morbidly obese, I was, developed some pretty crappy coping mechanisms like drinking too much and just eating whatever the hell I wanted. And just not processing.
Doing your best to cope, hey?
Yeah, basically, and just not processing the grief and whatnot.
Yep.
So, I just got to a point where I actually got put on antidepressants because I just wasn't coping. I was having panic attacks at work, and it was just kind of at that point I was like, something has to change. So that's that's when I started exploring what my options would be.
Wow. So how did you decide sort of that you were going to have the surgery, but which surgery did you decide to have as well?
Yeah, so before making the decision, obviously, like I had tried every fad diet known to man. And as we know, every single diet is just full of restriction. And as we know, what we can't have, we want more. So
Absolutely.
So I basically knew I didn't have the mental capacity to put in the discipline that I knew it took to lose weight. And so I knew that I needed a physical restriction. So that was a no-brainer, really. There's no other thing that you can really do except for weight loss surgery, which is putting that physical restriction in place. I went for a consult. I met with my bariatric surgeon. We talked through everything. we decided that having a gastric sleeve, because of my age, I was, I think, 25 at the time, and because of my fertility profile, that I hadn't had children but I wanted children, they decided gastric sleeve would be the best option for me. So I booked my surgery the day of the consult.
Wow.
So you were like, yes, I know, I'm sure.
Yeah, 100%. I just knew.
Yep.
I tried everything else, and I just seen it fail over and over. And I thought, if I don't do something now, I don't know what's going to happen.
I love what you said about the mental capacity to be able to maintain that type of discipline. I can completely relate to that. And I don't think I've really ever heard anybody just articulate it quite that well. But that is 100% what it is.
Yeah.
With everything else that we're trying to process and all of the things that are going on in our life, it does take a huge mental load, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
I think it does.
It does. Yeah.
And to be able to manage that and everything else, sometimes we just can't.
No.
I couldn't.
No, I couldn't. It's such a
I love that you're able to know that for yourself and go, yep, I need a physical aid to help me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So leading up to the surgery, did you have a bit of a wait from when you decided you were going to have surgery to when you could actually have the surgery?
Yeah. Oh, look, it was quite a while ago, but I'm quite impulsive with my decision making. So, as I said, booked it in the same day, and I booked for the earliest date possible. Like, once in my mind I know something, it's happening.
Yep.
Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it's not. But yeah, it was not long after I booked it in. I think it was a couple of weeks.
Love it.
I just love that.
Yeah. I was like, this shit is happening.
Yeah.
We're doing it. I'm not talking myself out of it.
I think that's good, because sometimes we need that, it just, because I had to wait over 12 months.
Oh,
and all the mental games between then and when I had it was just, it got to the night before the surgery actually, and I said to my wife, I'm like, Kim, I think I want to cancel it. And she looks at me and she says,
You are not cancelling.
You're not fucking cancelling it. Suck it up.
their body.
You're having surgery. And I was just like, yes, boss. So I think there's some good points to just booking it and getting it done.
Sure, you can definitely talk yourself out of it if you're talking enough. Yeah.
So what did you think of the pre-op?
Well, for me, pre-op wasn't too much of a big deal. I was quite lucky in the regard, like I know people, and I don't know about yourselves, but they had to do 2 weeks of shakes. No, thank you. I was lucky in the way that I wasn't considered in that weight range that I had to do 2 weeks worth of shakes, but I did still do, I think it was just under a week, and even that, I'm permanently like traumatized from shakes.
Permanently scarred.
Never.
Did you do a month? Did you do a month, Damo?
Yeah, it was close to.
No.
It was fucking miserable.
No, I wouldn't have been okay.
I did 2 weeks, and I feel like I shut my own soul out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was actually talking to the team from Optifast the other day, and they were telling me how they've reformulated their soups. And I just looked and I said, what, so they don't taste like a great big cup of fucking regret? And they just looked at me, and I was like, I drank that shit. I know what it tastes like.
Yeah. No. Strong no.
Well, a week is still long enough.
Yeah, 100%. By the end of the week, I was like, I will never drink another protein shake in my life. And recently I have bit the bullet and drunk another one, but I had flashbacks like, no. Yeah. So no, I honestly, so much respect for people that have to do it.
I loved your video on Insta the other day, protein for brekkie, and you're gagging, and it's like...
Yeah. Yep, it's applicable to the shakes, isn't it?
It is. Really is. So tell us, was surgery like a relatively good, recovery? How did things go for you during that?
Yeah, I was really lucky. My surgeon was amazing. Had a really good bedside manner as well, which you don't often hear about.
Yeah.
But he was fantastic. My surgery went pretty smooth. Woke up pretty much okay. I don't know about you guys, but I had the worst gas pains.
Yeah, I had really bad gas.
Oh, it was fucking horrific. Like, I still remember thinking, oh my God, out of everything, that was probably the worst.
Yeah.
But in terms of, my surgery itself was pretty smooth sailing, come out okay. It was just
What
basically.
did they do for the gas for you? Because it's actually such a common question that gets asked in support groups, and I've seen it on Insta too, like, oh my God, the gas pain.
Apparently just trying to move your body as much as possible. I'm moving around, and obviously the good shit, like the pain relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hit that shit pretty hard for a couple of days. But that, it was just a matter of trying. And it is the last thing you feel like doing is moving your body because you're sore, you're tired, and whatnot. But yeah, that's what they recommend, and that's what did help me.
Yeah,
you're trying to get the gas out. So
yeah, like moving your body, but then it's the actual like the farting process. It's like, oh my God,
which end is it going to come out of?
What if I do one and then the nurses come in?
Oh, that happened to me, but I'd also followed through. So
No, I did see. Yeah, I did hear that happened to you, Damo. Oh, that's
so it's just
these things happen. Hey.
Yeah.
actually one of my first memories after surgery was the next day, and I'd spent about 5 hours in recovery, and that apparently I woke up really bad and I was in a lot of pain. But the next day they just brought my regular medications in, and at that point I was on like 30 different tablets a day, and I got to the point where I could swallow all of them in one go.
Ooh.
I wasn't thinking, and I just went to do my usual swallow them and took the mouthful of water and just swallowed it down, and oh my God, I thought I was going to die.
Oh, your belly, yeah.
And
no.
and it was awful, and Kim was there, and she's just like, oh my God, what do I do? I couldn't even talk. It was just one of those things that you don't sort of think about because you've never done it before.
Don't take 30 tablets at a time after you wake up from your sleep. That's a bad idea.
Yeah, but you wouldn't. You don't think about it because it's just not your norm. Hey.
Yeah. So after after the initial gas pain and all of that, how long were you in hospital?
I was only in hospital for around 3 days. It wasn't long.
Yep. That's good.
It was pretty in and out, but it was mainly after that the shit hit the fan for me.
Yep. Okay, so let's dive in. Tell us.
Oh my gosh, strap in, guys. So, excuse me. Well, basically, from my surgery, I don't know about what you guys went through, but they give you reflux medication in the initial stages of your surgery. Anyway, they say, okay, this will hopefully, you can stop this within, I think it was a week or 2 weeks or whatnot. As it were for me, I struggled horrendously with my reflux, and unfortunately that never went away for me. So I was one of the few percentages of people that, if anything, it did, it ramped up 100%. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that was not fun because that was something that even up until now I've finally got a handle on, but that was a huge journey for me. That looked like my bariatric surgeon had to actually take me back in for more surgery, and he tried tightening the sphincter muscle. That didn't work for me, and at this point I'm choking on my own bile when I'm sleeping. I couldn't eat anything because everything just burnt so badly, so I was really quite thin because I couldn't get any food in. So at that point he's like, look, I can only do what I can do within my scope. And so then he referred me on to a gastroenterologist. Met with him, went through all the tests, went in for more surgery, and they did what's called a fundoplication. So basically, they're wrapping your stomach around your esophagus, trying to tighten that junction so that the acid doesn't flow back up.
Yep.
And that worked really well for a while, and I definitely saw I had relief, but then pregnant. Yeah, so that's, as we know, we go through pregnancy and we release a hormone and everything likes to loosen up, and that also includes all of those muscles and whatnot within you. 2 pregnancies later, that I was basically back to square one again with the vomiting and not being able to eat and all of that sort of thing. So back to the gastrologist.
Congratulations on the babies. Like, that's amazing.
Thank you. They're now 2 and 4. Really hard work.
Yes. Oh my
Beautiful,
goodness.
but yeah.
Yeah.
My 2-year-old's an absolute asshole right now, so
They all are. Like, I don't know. I just think it's that age. They really are.
absolutely foul. Anyways,
But, yeah. Wow.
so pregnancy was interesting for me. I really wanted to love it, but I hated it. Like, I hated pregnancy. I was not one of those I'm glowing girls. I'm so happy. I was just foul.
Yeah.
I was so foul, so over it. I couldn't eat anything. And I think emotionally as well, as a bariatric patient, we're so terrified of gaining weight. So the moment I see the scale going up, even though you're growing a human, you know that you're supposed to be gaining weight. It's just such a trigger. You're just like, no, this isn't good.
Yep, I totally agree with you. Actually had a lap band in for my last pregnancy.
Oh, wow.
So obviously, you know, that's a while ago now, but yeah, I had a lap band in, and that was horrific. It was horrendous, and the reflux was insane. And afterwards, oh my God, like the reflux was, it was terrible. So yeah, I was not one of those glowing mamas either. I was just like a rancid little mess in the corner, just like
Gollum.
yeah. I definitely had Gollum vibes during that time. So yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I ended up, because I don't know if it's got anything to do with, like, my nutrition was stable. It definitely could have been better, but I was struggling to get food in. I was anemic. I was all of the things.
Yeah.
But both my babies came at 35 weeks on the dot. Waters broke 35 weeks. It was like my body was like, anyway, get out. I've had enough of this shit. And admittedly, I had enough of that shit too. So, you know.
And were they okay? How did you go? Like, were they in the NIC?
Yeah, for a week they both did really well. Didn't, you know, minimal support in there. So yeah, they both out in a week. They're very healthy and happy now, which is all good.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
So the procedure that you had, interestingly, my surgeon has been talking about that for me.
Right.
Or something very similar, probably a hybrid of that, because I've had a gastric bypass. But I'm very, very interested in your feedback about how you feel about that. And is that something that you're going to have again? Can they do it again? And
yeah, absolutely. And that's a question I do get asked a lot. Is it just around that procedure in particular? So obviously a couple of years on, after I had my children and everything went back to the way it was, I actually went in for another lot of surgery. But by this point he had developed a better technique. So I was actually a guinea pig. I was one of the first to undergo the new procedure, which is very similar to the fundoplication, but they've just tweaked it in a way. Don't ask me the logistics behind it. I do have actually a link that I will share with you guys, because
that'd be great.
Yeah, we'd love it.
Gets into depth and explains it really well. But to answer your question, yes, I had the surgery again, and it is something that you can definitely have again. What I think made the biggest difference for me is that was great. I had the surgery. It was a really good outcome. My symptoms lessened off a lot again, but it wasn't until that point in my weight loss journey where I was like, I'm still taking daily medications for my reflux, and that really bummed me out. I really wanted to try to get off taking reflux medications. I really was like, okay, what can I do here? I need to do everything in my power to try to get off these medications. So first thing I focused on was my nutrition. And that wasn't easy. Like, I think we delude ourselves a lot into thinking that we're eating good or thinking that we're eating foods that aren't going to agitate reflux. But in fact, when we start to write it down, it was like a bit of a light bulb moment. Like, I was eating all of these foods, which are very common trigger foods, but in saying that, it varies from person to person. What might be my trigger food, for example, devastatingly enough, is chocolate, but another person could be fine to eat it. You too, Damo?
Yeah, especially dark chocolate. If I have anything like that after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, wake up and I've got my lungs full of acid and coming out my nose, and so I've had to learn my triggers. But even then, it's still hard sometimes.
It is, absolutely.
You have a kid's birthday party or something, and they want you to have a piece of cake.
Yeah.
So I do. Even with doubling up on my reflux meds, it doesn't help.
No. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Damo's actually facing a revision at the moment for reflux, the bile reflux as well.
It's honestly, it's out of everything, it was probably one of the worst things that I had to deal with, because it just does affect your life. And to say that it's manageable, but as you said, Damo, it's a bit like a diet in a way, because sometimes it does make you feel quite restricted in what you can eat. So like, I don't know if you feel the same, but like, you kind of go from learning the foods that you can eat from weight loss surgery and pinning, like, getting your nutrition under wraps, and then you've got to actually relearn what foods that you can and you can't eat just to manage your reflux. So for me, like, I had to keep a diary for several weeks just to figure out what was happening with my body. And as like, can't eat chocolate, have to stay away from acidic foods, spicy foods, which I love, like, things like curries and stuff, red wine, which I love. But to say that you just cut them out, well, no, mate, you don't just cut them out, because that's not, we go back to talking about balance and you want it to be sustainable. So I feel like there's this little bit of a war happening between the both.
Yeah, I mean, I love a glass of red wine when I'm having, like Italian something, and both of them are triggers for me, but I still want to do it because it's about living and enjoying our life.
Yeah.
So, we even sort of have to plan around that, and okay, well, we're going to be doing this, so make sure I have the right sort of quickies and all that sort of stuff for when it happens.
Not if, it's when.
And you sort of get to that point where you just have to either accept it or you're going to be really miserable. Or that's what I found anyway.
Yeah, 100% relate to that. Like, I'm exactly the same. I definitely try to monitor what I eat as much as I can, because I don't want to suffer on the daily. But in the same token, if I know I'm going to have, some chocolate cake or chocolate, I'm going to eat it, but I'm going to accept what the consequences of that are going to be. And that's just part of my life now.
Yep. I can completely relate. And I'm so glad that you're saying this, because people do need to hear it, that sometimes after we have a bariatric procedure, like, we love our outcomes, we love and enjoy the fact that we can move around in a body that serves us well, and we appreciate that. But there is a trade-off at times, and sometimes it means that we can't eat as freely as we would like to.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely. And, I have had people say to me, because I guess they've seen me go through, all of these surgeries and get really sick and all of that, and they're like, almost in a smug way sometimes, they're like, I bet you regret that. Or would you have done that again? And my answer has always remained the same. Fucking oath I would have.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Because what's more important here? Living a completely unfilled life where you're scared of everything, your confidence is shot, or this trade-off that you have to adapt and manage your nutrition.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, isn't it?
It is.
When you've been living it for a little while, I mean, for me, my reflux is like I've had gastric bypass. I still have reflux. I'm on 2 different medications for it. And, with some other complications and things. And people have asked me quite a lot this year because there's been a lot of things and I have been in hospital a few times. And people have said, Tash, are you sure that it's worth it? I'm like, absolutely. I would not change it. I would still have the same surgery. I would still do it all exactly the same.
Yeah.
It does just mean that life has to be a little bit more planned, and I have to accept, like you said, the consequences of my choices. If I choose to eat something that I know is going to trigger me, if I choose to have the 3rd cup of coffee in the day, then I know that I'm going to have reflux, oh well.
Even sharing that steak the other week, you had a small piece, and steak is something that'll set Tash's reactive hypoglycemia off. Who would
my
think?
blood sugar will drop like really rapidly, and I can end up with all of the dumping symptoms, but from red meat.
Wow.
We don't know why, but anyway, that happens. But I actively chose it. I chose to have some, and had all of the things on hand in case. And my blood sugar did drop, not to the level where I passed out, thankfully, but these are just things that we have to, I guess, be aware of. Hey.
Yep. And it's not too dissimilar to people. Like it's not just bariatric patients that suffer with reflux that have to manage what they eat.
That's right.
There's people that are gluten-free and celiac and this and that, and we're all kind of in the same boat,
Yeah, 100%. I also do have celiac disease. So I'm monitoring and managing that as well. So sometimes we just have to make those dietary adaptations. Someone actually said to me, I think it was just yesterday on BSA, or it might have even been the night before, they've recently been diagnosed and they're feeling quite down about it. And I said, I look on it as a challenge, or I try to look on it and have a positive attitude about it and think, it's an exciting adventure. It's a challenge. How amazingly can I nourish my body? What can I do for myself? How can I make this as fun as possible? Because if you just have that really negative mindset about it, then it feels like a chore.
It does. I relate to that because probably a couple of months ago now, I have to have pretty much recurrent iron infusions. It's not since bariatric surgery, it's something I've always deal with. Anyway, I had my bloods done and my markers were pretty much indicating that I had a gluten intolerance. So that's actually the last couple of months I've spent being gluten-free. And I can so relate to what you're saying. Like if you're going to paint it in a negative mindset, that's what you're going to get from it. But instead, it actually taught me so much more about nutrition. And if anything, I eat even better now. And I'm more satisfied with the things that I'm eating as well, because it kind of forces you in a way to learn more about what you're actually putting in your mouth as well.
Yep. I love that for you. And I can, that has been my journey as well. I fell in love, I think, with food in a whole new way and in a whole different way.
Yeah.
And it became such a passion to be able to show that you can live a gluten-free life and still have an exciting food life and still have food be fun, which hopefully it still is, and that's
it is. Like, I don't know about you, but I like to challenge myself and think of what things I make, and then I'll feed it to my family and be like, and they'll eat it and they're like, oh, that's really good, and I'm like, it's gluten-free.
And
they're like, oh, really?
I do that too. I frequently shove things in his mouth if he walks in the door of my house. Here, try this.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't get me wrong, sometimes I'm met with that tastes like shit, and you're like, fair call, but it's all part of it, eh?
It is.
Yeah. And it is. It's sort of like an adventure. When we were in Melbourne the other week, it was mine and Kim's wedding anniversary, and Tash was staying with us for the conference that we were at, and one of the boys was able to come in, and so we went out to dinner. And I loved it. It was this beautiful Italian restaurant. But when we said that Tash had celiac, they actually put a little card in front of her so that all the wait staff knew that she had an allergy. And so before they'd put anything on the table, they checked what her allergy was so that they wouldn't gluten her. And it was just so nice.
It was fantastic because it's so lovely when you go out and you know that you can eat somewhere without fear that you're going to have all of those symptoms. Like for me, if I, God forbid, if I get gluten, the bloating is absolutely insane, and it's extremely severe. I've ended up in hospital from it, but I will literally choose to not eat if we go out,
if there's a risk.
If there is that risk.
Yeah.
And this restaurant, they made me gluten-free gnocchi. Like they just went above and beyond. It was so nice. It was just really, really lovely, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So, did you have a team as part of your surgery, like a dietitian and?
Yeah. Yep. At the time, I think it was just the dietitian that was basically involved. So I would follow up with my post-op appointment with her. She'd try to keep you on track and just suss out what you were doing with your food and whatnot. But I just feel like in terms of readiness for bariatric surgery or even the preparation phase is just so lacking. I don't know about you guys, but I just feel like nothing could possibly prepare you for it. As in, you have your consult and the bariatric surgeon says to you, we're going to be chopping and changing your anatomy. So you 100% will lose weight. And I feel like, bang, that's where you lose everybody. Everybody's like, okay, great. I've heard what I wanted to hear now. That's it. And I'm guilty of that myself. Like, I heard what I wanted to hear, but then they continue on to say, but hey, this is a tool. And if you don't learn to use it, this will fail. You do have to make the necessary life changes. But when you're so stuck on what they've just told you that you're going to lose weight, you kind of, I don't know, for me, it was like yeah, okay. Like, all right. But like, what does that exactly encompass? People
totally agree.
all the time, like, make the lifestyle changes. And you're like, what the fuck does that mean though?
Yeah.
Like,
what is that even? So what are the things that you wish you had better understood? Because this is a conversation that we've been having with a number of professors and people that we're hoping eventually could come up with some kind of a baseline sort of information that everybody could get in a way that will be easily understood. What are the things that you wish you had known?
I'll tell you the things that I wish I had known, but I also wish that there was some sort of, I don't know, even like a program or some kind of online course or something.
Yep.
That you had to do or complete before that you go into the surgery so that you know what you're in for.
Yep, I agree.
And the things, I guess, for example, that I would want to know is when you hear make lifestyle changes, you think, okay, well, what does that look like? Like, that's such a broad term. Lifestyle changes. I wish someone had told me that the hard work never ends. So, yes, you do lose weight initially, but you have to continue to work hard to maintain those results. So when, you're talking about lifestyle, you're talking about moving your body more. You're talking about learning to move your body or exercise in the way that is suitable and attainable for you. For me, I go to the gym and, I'm really lucky that I have a boyfriend now who's shown me everything to do at the gym because I couldn't even go to the gym by myself. I was so self-conscious and I would step foot in a gym and be like, holy shit, I don't know what I'm doing. I was really lucky in the way that he showed me that built my confidence to then go to the gym But I guess I wish somebody would tell me the things that entails lifestyle, like going to the gym, drinking more water, educating yourself more around what you're actually putting in your mouth. So at the start, you know, you're kind of stuck in this old dieting mindset of, you know, eat some salad and drink your water, where it's much more complex than that. You start to realize nutritional value. You start to realize the calories that are in the foods that you're eating. And this all encompasses lifestyle, because this is affecting your day-to-day life. And these are things that you really need to put in the work, because knowledge is power when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. You're 100% bang on. I think that this is something that to maintain in the long term, it's hard.
It's so
It just
hard.
is. It's work. And I think for me, the biggest barrier that I had was around food. I thought that I understood about nutrition, and it was very much based on a diet culture understanding, which is, it sounds very similar to what you've said. I thought, you know, I just have to eat more salad.
Yeah.
Basically, that was going to fix it all. What I didn't understand was I needed balance of all of the nutrients. I needed to be able to eat broadly and understand how to support my body to get what I wanted out of it.
100%.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the relationship even with food, because we all get to the same spot that we've all got to because of a relationship that we have with food.
Yeah.
Like, whether people want to acknowledge that or not, most of us have a why we're there. You know, for me, I was using food as a way to cope. So I had a really unhealthy relationship with food. And I feel like that's also something that's just not really spoken about enough.
Yep,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, that you've got to put in that work around repairing that relationship. Because otherwise that problem never really goes away.
Oh, I agree with you. I fell in a heap. Really, it was about 6 weeks post-op, and I just realized, oh my God, I've been using food to help me with all of these emotional triggers and traumas from my past. And it took me my first year, I think, really to make my way through that and sort of pick that apart a little bit. But I needed so much help. It didn't just happen. I actually needed, you know, I needed that psychological support and to work through my trauma and things like that, so that I wouldn't keep harming myself with food, because that's what I had done for a long time. I know not everybody does that, but I certainly did.
Me too, yeah.
So I can relate, really can, to that.
Yeah.
I agree that it should be something that's talked about more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I have two people that are really close family members of mine. Both have had the same surgery that I have had, sleeve surgery, and one today has maintained her results. She's doing so well, like so proud of her. But the other has not done so well and is now back to square one. And you look at what makes these two people different, and it's what we were speaking about before. Like, it has put in the work to learn what lifestyle changes mean. She has put in the work to get herself to the gym. She pays for a PT so that she could understand what she was doing. She educated herself more around food. She put in the work to repair that damaged relationship she had with food. She does 10,000 steps a day. I could go on and on. Both people have had the same surgery, and this is like over and over where people are falling down because there's just not that education and really support around it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to keep speaking up, and that's why we absolutely love the things that you share online, and it is such an important message, because people need hope that the surgery can be successful, in the longer term. One of the things that I hate is when people say that they've failed, like they've failed their sleeve or whatever.
Yeah.
No, we need that good support and to understand all of the different multifaceted things that will help us be able to maintain our results in the long term.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a lot probably with you guys as well. I don't know if you can questions around weight reading, and there's just such a heavy stigma with it, and so much of shame is that that's associated with it, and it really does break my heart because I know the mental battle that they're going through, and it is just a matter of all of the things that we're talking about and that extra support and the people that they have around them and the communities that you guys have developed, which are just so vital and so important for success for your weight loss.
Yeah. I think that there's so much that we can do as people that have lived experience to be able to help others that are going through that same type of battle and journey. I mean, I had a small regain back in the COVID days, and it was 100% what I was putting into my mouth. Like it just was.
Yeah.
And it was probably like an 6 to 8 week window of time before I realized, oh gosh, this is what I'm doing. And this comes back to, this is a trauma response. And what am I doing to myself? And I had to work through that. So it's all of those things. Again, it's just, the surgery doesn't just fix it, does it?
Oh, hell no. No, not at all. And I can relate to that feeling of weight regain because I think, just after that 1 year period, I did start to get a little bit back. And if I'm honest, because I hadn't adapted, I hadn't put in the work to understand what I needed to do. I'd made small changes, but I hadn't done enough. So I did start to regain a little bit of weight. And naturally, you get on the scales and you see the weight going up. And your first is like the natural response is you go into first anger towards yourself. And then it's almost like punishment. Like, how can we restrict ourselves? So you actually put yourself into restriction mode, which then I feel like just puts you on this merry-go-round of anger, restriction, diet, failure. So I had to get to this point where I was like, what's changed? Like, what's changed between then and now? And then figure out where I was falling down and address that. And also when you hear emotional eating, like a lot of people, they picture the quintessential TV shows and their breakups and they're eating ice cream and stuff, and that's still very relevant. But for me, it was like emotional eating can look like boredom. It can be derived from all sorts of different emotions. And a big one for me was sleep deprivation because my kids don't sleep.
Yep.
So it's just, interesting and to understand that all of these emotions have such a big role to play in our eating habits. And unless we address them, and there's all different sorts of things that you can do, I won't get into that, it's just going to keep happening and that you just keep on that merry-go-round.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that you're getting that message out there, but one of the things that makes me smile is that you've done it with the sleeve, because it can be so easy to, it's not really working, so let's jump to bypass, let's go to the next thing. And for some people that is what they need, but for some of us, like I had to realize that eating the same stuff in smaller amounts wasn't going to keep my weight off in the long term.
Yep.
And had to make some changes there. And it's not that I deprive myself, if I want something, then we'll go and get it, but I'm not driving through Macca's 3 times a day anymore.
Yeah.
And that's where the real difference for me happened, was making that cut. And I didn't have anything like that was like the first 18 months, because I knew that if I did sort of go back to that, then it would be really hard for me to break.
Yeah.
Like any addiction.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that is just so important, and understanding that. And like you say, it's something that really isn't talked enough about when we're booking our appointment to see the surgeon. And, you know, there are things that I think we need to know. Unfortunately, we don't know them until, you know, we're going through it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's
100%. Which is why it's so important that we have these sorts of conversations, you know, lived experience people just chatting and saying, hey, this is how it was for me, this is how it still is for me.
Yeah.
What does, like, not amounts, but what's a standard day like for you, you know, in terms of food? You might be fine to share portion sizes and stuff. I'm not. I don't think that it does any good to anybody to know how much I eat, because that's relevant to me. It's not relevant to, you know, to them.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
But just, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, for my current goals, I'm trying to lean up and build muscle. So for me, that's like a higher protein, still carbs, because carbs are, you know, life as well. We need carbs.
They are.
We need fats as well. So yeah, but I would say I'm very heavy on the protein side of things. So a typical day for me is most mornings I will have like protein for breakfast. I'm not a big sweet breakfast person in the morning. So like cereals and you know, chia seed bowls and all that sort of lovely stuff that, you know, can be high in protein. I just prefer savory. Like I'm a savory too. So I tend to go towards things like, you know, even baked beans and eggs or ham and eggs. Like I keep it very, very simple, high protein.
Yep, that's right.
I eat steak for breakfast. I love steak. Sorry, Tash. I know. I love.
I wish I could. I would love to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not too, and you know what? Even if I have cooked the night before and it's a higher protein type of meal, I'm one of those sickos that will have dinner for breakfast. I don't give a shit. I don't care. As long as it's got high protein and what I need in it, don't care. Bit of carbs in there. Great.
We're both like that as well.
Really?
We're both. Yep.
Yep, we grew up with our mum refrying the leftovers for breakfast, and we get a little bit with an egg.
Yep,
toast. You know, that's how
we grew up. You know. Yeah, so yeah, both of us completely relate. Love it.
Yeah, so like my diet can be random as fuck sometimes. Like that's why, you know, when I'm explaining a typical day for me, it sometimes can be a little bit random. But anyway, so breakfast is usually high protein, a savory option, like eggs and ham. I'll go do a gym session usually in the morning. I come back. It's usually some sort of carbohydrate and more protein. So I love rice. I love rice. I fucking hate brown rice. I don't want to eat it. I'm not going to eat it because I don't like it. I will eat, you know, even like a mild butter chicken and rice, or just, you know, clean protein and rice, or sweet potato or something like that.
Yep.
And that's just for a snack. And obviously it is quite a small portion. And if I don't do that, I'll eat tuna and rice cakes, for an example.
Yep. I'm a rice cake girly.
I love them. And for us, because of the no gluten in it, it's such a win, isn't it? Kind of like the sandwich solution, I think, for us.
Yeah, it is.
Because gluten-free bread sucks. Let's face it.
Gluten-free bread is just like, it's the worst thing ever.
It's not great. I have to say though, I have found one particular bread, by the way. I don't know if you've got a Costco near you, but there's a Costco gluten-free bread. It's a game changer.
It's actually good.
It's actually
okay. So next time I'm in Melbourne, I'm gonna go.
I want to review. Yeah, no, it's actually good. It is good. Yeah. So, and then dinner the same. For snacks, I tend to stick. I'm quite boring and repetitive in my ways of eating because I just stick to what sort of works. So if I do want something sweet, I usually am looking like one of the YoPro high protein yogurts and some fruit and some honey. And then, dinner. And then, you know what? If during the day I want a piece of cake or some chocolate, I'll eat that too.
Yep. That just sounds balanced and awesome.
Yeah.
And it's very, very similar to how, except I do a smoothie bowl usually in the morning. But again, it's because if I have veggies around that I can put an egg with, I'll generally go with something like that. But I probably, 3-4 days a week I'm a smoothie bowl girl. But other than that, what we eat sounds pretty similar.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely pretty boring. And I think the main thing for me is just as soon as I took the restriction off, that was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, because it was like, okay, I'm not telling my body I can't have these things. And then you kind of find, I don't know about you, but I found that I was craving those things less.
Yep.
Because I wasn't saying to myself, you can't have that. So
yeah, I agree. All food should and can fit, obviously, except if you can't have gluten, which
yeah.
But yeah, I completely agree with you with that whole mentality of not telling yourself, hey, I can't eat that, I can't have this, can't have that. If I want something, I just make that fit into my day.
Me too, yeah. I don't know about what you guys use, but sometimes, because I'm guilty of it still even now, I go off track every now and again and go on a bender and all of this sort of stuff. But I use MyFitnessPal and I'll enter in my caloric goal and my weight and all of that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Sometimes I'll do like a week of just recording what I'm eating just to get me back in that mind frame of what I can spend during the day, you know?
Yeah, totally. I think that that's such a great, it's a really great tip. And I know from a number of dietitian friends that if we were to sit in front of them, they'll, and things have gone a bit funny, they'll say, have you kept a food diary for a day or two? It's not that we want to be pedantically tracking. It's just so that we can see how things are going along and make those little adjustments.
Yeah.
And it can be a really valuable tool if you use it that way. I mean, obviously, if you're like, being really mean to yourself and looking over every single little thing and there's never any wiggle room, that's not why I don't think that's great. I wouldn't live that way. But I think that if we're using it to, for a purpose and for a reason, and it's to get back on track, then I think that it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I use my net diary.
Oh, I have heard of it. I've not tried it, but I've definitely heard of it.
Yeah. You can I think with MyFitnessPal as well, you can scan barcodes and all that sort of thing.
So good. Yeah. So good. But yeah, completely agree what you said. You can become, I've been becoming quite fixated on entering every little a splash of milk in my coffee. And this is not sustainable.
Yeah.
It's a joke. No way to live.
Who fucking has time for that? Really?
I don't. And that's why I think it just heightened, me feeling more anxious and more stressed. It actually did not help me at all. So I was like, this is just silly. I really just use it when I know that I'm starting to go a bit off track, or even if I have a particular health goal that I'm trying to achieve, I'll do it for a week to see what I need to do. And then, that generally keeps me on track.
Yep. I love it. I think that that's such a great tip for people, just it's practical, it's down to earth, and it's easy to put those details in. But see, what you've also done though is you've got a framework that you've obviously established for yourself that works for you, and you stay in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Basically. Yeah.
But it takes a lot of learning to get to that. Well, I found that anyway. It didn't just happen. I actually did a lot of learning about food, about what my macro split needed to look like so that I could eat freely. That's actually how it happened for me. I didn't I didn't just go to the dietitian and say, what should I eat? I actually learned about the foods that I like to eat, how I could put those into my day, and I needed to eat to stay on track.
Yeah.
For me.
Well said. Yeah.
So it was a lot of learning, and it sounds like you've probably done quite similar.
Yeah, just like perfectly said, really, because it's just not a one shoe fit all. And
Yeah.
I find that around such a strong diet culture that people want to conform to this one particular way. Like, you can eat the foods you want to eat. You just have to absolutely see how that they fit into your, into your day.
Yeah, into your life. That's
Into
right.
your life, yeah. And for me, it was like, I'm studying my diploma in nutrition and health coaching right now, but that's because I want to deepen my knowledge. I want to learn as much as I can so that I can live the life that suits me. Not anybody else, but that suits me.
Yeah.
I understand. I really do. I love it.
Amazing. Georgia, thank you so much for joining us today.
No
Let's
worries.
do this again.
Yeah, we'd
If
love
you'd like
to do
to.
this again, and maybe we could discuss more about your diploma that you're studying, and
Yeah, great.
yeah, that would be really cool, because I think it's great when the more people with lived experience that are filling roles like that, I think the better. And yeah,
It's exciting.
Thank you
so
for having me.
no, you're welcome. I'll just pause it